Welcome to Two Desks Down, the only business podcast where you get to hang with the guest for the whole season, not just one episode. I'm Erin Taylor, your host and owner of Luname Strategy. Hang out with us as we explore business, life, and everything in between. So tell me, what are you currently reading?
Okay, I knew this question was coming, and I am purposefully between books because I was like, this feels like so much pressure to have the right answer. Okay, I like to read for nerdy side and then for fun. I am currently reading a book about focus for my nerdy side. It is fascinating. It's all about keeping how our focus has diminished over time and how we can address it from an individual and systemic level. Fascinating, nerdy. And then my next read, I just finished Megan Quinn's Rules for the Summer, but am between some sort of summer romance. I'm sure it'll be some beachy book read.
I love it. I love it. How far are you into Focus?
About halfway through.
And you would recommend at this point?
I would recommend. It's fascinating. He did a social experiment where he took himself entirely off technology for the summer. No phone, no computer, no access to Wi-Fi, and then reintegrated into society and found he had this newfound love of focus while he had no technology, and he thought he could maintain it coming back, and he couldn't. And so it made him take a look at it from the larger systemic lens, and yeah. Fascinating.
Oh, wow. That is fascinating. Okay. I kind of burnt myself out on some of those books there for a while, but I might need to ease back in.
Nope, I'm with you. I don't love recommending self-help books, especially to business owners, because I think business is a giant self-help journey, and we can sometimes get lost in the sauce of those books without actually working on our businesses. So I always recommend them with a grain of salt.
And I have not read that book by Megan Quinn, but I have read other books by her. So I get the
Love
vibe.
That. What are you reading?
I am a third of the way into Beneath, which is the follow-up book from Conform. I believe it's Ariel Sullivan. I'll fix this in the show notes if I'm wrong, but it is very much a post-apocalyptic world and society. So
fun.
Yeah, it is. All right. Talk to me about your current craft.
Am I allowed to swear on this podcast?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. I am a hoe of all hobbies. And so I love a craft, and I have a hard time settling for just one. So I'm currently needle pointing, but my current favorite project that I'm working on is a little apron for my nephew. I'm sewing. I'm learning to sew. And so he has wanted to get involved in the kitchen, and I'm making him a little apron with dinosaurs on it.
Oh my gosh, that's going to be adorable.
I'm so excited
to have it.
I'll send pictures.
Yes. Do you do Instagram posts on these? Or are those just stories?
It's a good question. I have not. My crafts have not made it to a solid place on the gram. Okay. Maybe they should, but right now they feature in stories pretty frequently because I can't not.
Yes. Well, if they make it to the feed, you send me the link and we'll put it in the show notes so everyone can see the dinosaur apron.
Oh my God. Just for you. Are you crafting currently?
I do not have a craft currently. I am planning on signing up for pottery classes again as an activity to do with my hands. Now that we're here and settled, I've found a place that looks good that I can go do a trial one-time thing before I sign up for a bulk session. So that is my, hands-on activity.
I love that. That's so
okay. If you had to fight in combat with a vegetable, which one would you pick and why?
I was cackling at this question, and I think I took it too well, no, whatever. I couldn't get my brain off of broccoli, and I have two reasons for it. I am short, approximately 5'4", and which is average height, but I like to think that the broccoli, if it were human sized, it would be taller, and so its line of sight would be over me, and short, scrappy would really do well in a fight with broccoli. Two was that broccolis resemble trees, and much like your season 1 episode guest, I also had a tussle with a tree last fall and lived to tell the tale. A tree fell on my car, if you are tuning in. Actually, my car and my husband's car. So, that was a really fun fall. And so I imagine, if they're anything like trees, I survived it once and I would fight it again. Well, hopefully not. Please, knock on wood, no more trees. But, that was...
Okay.
of
Okay.
vegetable.
We grew it to human height. Okay, my brain did not go there. I was thinking, what would I use to fight someone else if I had to use a vegetable?
A fight? Oh, that is hilarious. Okay, well, tell me what you would fight with.
Okay, so I thought about this a lot, and it depends on how you classify vegetables, I guess. But ginger, I was thinking root vegetable, and then I went to ginger, and I was like, okay, it's got some substance that I could throw, and it's gotten some potency. So if I wanted to grind it and use it as like a biological weapon, I might be able to.
Yeah, like spray it in the eyes.
Yes. I love that we went two different directions.
Two very different directions. I was like, I am going to war with the vegetables. I was like, I really like them. Broccoli's one of my favorites. So it felt really wrong. I much prefer fighting with them. Big fan of ginger. That's a great one.
Yes, I love this so much. Okay, so we cannot move on until we talk more about the tree, because apparently this is a theme of my guest.
I literally was listening, I think it's to episode 1 of last season, and I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, I had not had the pleasure of meeting Katie yet. And when I heard that she had encountered a tree, I was like, good gosh. And then when you asked me to be on the podcast, I was like, is she choosing people who have fought trees in the last year? Because what a theme.
Seriously, I guess if you want to pitch me for an episode, if other people have had a tree fall on something
with a tree, yeah, you may be a good fit.
Was there a big storm? Was the tree just old and ready to fall over?
It's a good question. I was actually out of town when it happened, and it was a light rain, and my husband was working and just heard a huge boom in the backyard and like looked outside the window, and I say that a tree branch fell on my car. The branch was the size of a tree. Like the tree itself was 6 foot diameter. Is that what it is across? Yeah. It was a huge tree, and so it must have been not well on the inside, because it definitely looked like it was maybe rotting on the inside when the tree or when the limb actually came down. But yeah, he discovered it, and then he was like, I'm going to go back inside just in case. Like, it sounds a little creaky. And not 15 minutes later, the second branch came down and fell on the garage, which happened to have his car in it. None of our neighbors' cars, like nothing else, just a 1-2 punch for the Howell household's cars.
And how long did it take you to resolve this, like with insurance and car replacement or fixes?
Mine, fortunately, was much easier. I had a new car within the week. Like, it was a very quick process, mostly because they gave me I returned home. I like took all the pictures, did all the things, sent it to insurance. The guy on the phone with me, I was like out of town having to communicate the damage. And I was like having to refer to Kevin and be like, is like how far down is the roof? And he was like, Alexa, the roof is touching the frame of your car. Like the roof is touching the bottom of where the window is. So I was like, oh yeah, no, that car is not coming back. So my car, they like looked at very quickly and were like, yeah, no, like time of death now, like we can move on. So that happened pretty quickly. Kevin's car had to be extricated from the garage. So that took a little longer because the garage was not stable, and so they had to pull it out, and his eventually got totaled too. So mine was within a week. His was probably like 3 weeks. Crazy.
It is. That's wild. Okay, now I cannot answer this question, but I want you to tell me about your pet.
Oh my gosh. I have how old is he now? 6-year-old Australian Shepherd named Kona. He is oh my God, the sweetest. He's under my desk currently. So if I keep looking, that's, he's right here. I took him on a walk so that he would hopefully be tired for this podcast recording. He's a pandemic puppy. And so we had a lot of time that we didn't plan for inside to entertain him in his puppy ages. So he knows far more tricks than he probably should. And it definitely keeps us entertained. He's the best.
Kind of breed?
Australian Shepherd.
Okay, which are high energy, yes?
Yep. I was like, my husband and my dog are very similar in that they are both very high energy. I was like, need to be taken on walks. But yeah.
And did you know this about them before you adopted?
I did. My husband had never had a dog before. So we got we bought a book from a bookstore that was like all about dogs. And Kevin went through and like read the first chapter, which was like all of the breeds of dogs you could look at. And he made a short list of ones that he was most excited about. And I was just excited about having a dog. And so I was like, you do your research. He's a researcher. So I was like, you go ahead, research the breeds. And he came back with the short list. And I was like, huh. I was like, an Australian Shepherd sounds fun. And very quickly into getting one, people informed us that they have to be both physically exhausted and mentally exhausted.
It's the
So they're
double
like,
whammy.
truly the double whammy. And if he's not, I will like try and be resting at the end of the day and go to stand up from the couch, and there will be like 12 balls on my lap. And I'm like, we've not done enough exercise for the day.
No. Gosh, I can't imagine, because I know how puppies are just in general, much less one that's prone to high energy and activity.
Oh my gosh. He like literally, we could not keep him contained. We had a baby gate and we would try and keep him in the kitchen, and not 5 minutes later he would end up in the office with my husband, and we could not figure it out until we realized he was climbing the baby gate. And we were like, and this was day 2 of having him.
Wow.
And so we were like, we're in trouble. Like we knew exactly how smart he was going to be. And
how old was he when you adopted?
he was 12 weeks, so like 3 months old.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
not a big guy yet.
Nope, we were in trouble.
Oh, I love that. Has he calmed down at all? Have you seen any slowdown?
Yes. Yeah, definitely since puppy age. They always say like they go through like puppy age, then they go through like velociraptor stage, which they are just like wired and crazy for like, a couple years. And like since then, he's like he's come into his own. He like is a little bit more chill, or at least knows our routines a little bit better, so he knows what to anticipate.
Yeah. Oh, good. I was like, that's what we experienced with ours, was between 4 and 6. There was some type of like adulthood where they weren't as crazy.
Yes. Yeah, thank goodness.
Oh, I love that so much. So tell me a little bit about you.
I'm Alexa. I am a marketing strategist, brand strategist, and a business mentor. I help women who really want to build sustainable businesses, but are often so either like stuck in their head or stuck in actions that don't quite mirror what they want in their business. I help them get really clear on what they actually want and then how to take action towards the business that they actually want. And so it's been a lot of fun. I am currently, I would say, like in pivot, in adjustment from, I was a brand and web designer strictly, and really wanted to help more women make a bigger impact and do it in a way where like I knew my strengths are on a really like people level. So a little less deliverable and a little bit more like getting people in momentum and supporting people that way. And so that's been the current season of pivot that I'm in.
I'm so excited to dive into that more in future episodes. All right. So today I would love to talk a little bit more about your life and what you're doing for fun.
Oh my goodness. Love that. I think a similar kind of thread that I've been pulling on is that as I've been pivoting, and this has been like a journey over the last, I would say like couple years of shifting and playing in my business. And there was a certain point where I realized that I was trying to like white knuckle success in my business, and like that I was trying to have the perfect plan, the perfect everything. And I was journaling a million hours and like making all sorts of, lots of ideas of what I wanted to have in business, but I was spending so much time stressing over it that I wasn't actually enjoying or present in my life. And I hit that kind of wall where it was like, wait a minute. I was like, this is not how I figured out anything else in my life up until now. Like, why should business be any different? And so play has been a huge cornerstone of my life, play and being present. And so I was like, okay, like it's time. I need to have more fun in my life. I need to like let life kind of unfold and like find play in my business, find play in my life. And so I moved with my husband back to Cleveland probably 5-6 years ago now. And the first couple years I was so involved in business that it was hard to really enjoy, like really get into life. And so I kind of hit that wall and was like, no, I really want my life to be fun. And so I just started saying yes to things. So I'm on a softball league. I've never played a day in my life outside of this league, but here we are. I'm a big hoe for hobbies, so a huge crafter. I love spending time with friends, so I've started doing lots of like crafternoons or just like trying to meet my friends where they are in their seasons of life. Like our business provides us lots of flexibility. So I'm like, yeah, like let me take the Thursday afternoon walk with a friend. So a lot of little rogue things coming together to make a really fun outside of business life.
I love that. I love that. Fun fact, I did play softball all through college, so we're on opposite sides of the spectrum here.
I know. I was like, I remember you telling me that. And I was like, Erin, teach me how to hit a ball. And you were like, keep your eye on the ball. I was like, okay. I was like, I will do it.
That's as good as I can do over text.
Fair enough. Yeah, no.
Yeah, I didn't realize that you hadn't always been in Cleveland. Where were you
No.
moving from?
From Columbus, so not far.
Okay.
I'm a New Yorker originally. I came to college in Cleveland, and then I lived in Columbus for a few years while I worked at a nonprofit camp for kids with serious illnesses. And then my husband moved to live with me in Columbus. And literally not 6 months after he left, I quit my job and started my own business. And he had moved because I was, location stuck with my job. And well, that was a fun little turnaround. So we spent a couple more years there and then made our way back to Cleveland.
Did he move from Cleveland to Columbus and then back again?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, he
Fun.
did. I know. What a legend.
I'd love to dive in a little bit more about how life felt when you were so wrapped up in your business and so stressed about your business. Because while I think everybody likes to think about business and life as separate things, we know that there's a merge that happens. And so tell me what life looked like while you were in that stressful, busy stage of business.
Good question. I would say things really started like contracting around my business, and that like my business felt like its own entity. So it would start to like grow outside of work hours. I would be thinking about it all the time. Like if I wasn't working on it, I was probably thinking about it. Really, like I was doing client work, but also trying to like figure out, what this pivot looked like. And so the hours just got kind of wonky. I would find myself being like, well, I'll just like work into the evening to like make up for any time that I was doing anything else. And even like the work time was not always like working on my business. It was working on thinking about my business, which is such like a tricky trap that we can get into as business owners, where you're like, well, I will think this into being. And like, that's not always how it looks. But life, I was doing like I was shaving off the corners of my life to accommodate my business in the way that like I was just like spending so much time. And I was like, let me like optimize life so I can do better at business, going to bed at time, saying no to like fun things so that I could like be more focused or be a quote unquote better business owner. And it was a little consuming. And I was like, that's not why I signed up for this.
Right. But it's so easy to let it become your personality almost,
Yes. Yes.
And then it consumes you where, I have had moments like this in my business where it feels like I need to be at my desk and doing something for my business to grow, And then you say no to the things that you wanted when you started the business, the flexibility to like go meet a friend for lunch or like go take a walk, and suddenly you're stuck in this trap of I might as well work for a corporate entity if this is what we're going to do.
Right. No, especially the being at your desk, like feeling like you have to be there. And then you're like, wait a minute, like I started this business so I could go, be free or like go have a social life or take a vacation and not ask anybody. And you're like, this is not what I signed up for. And then you're like, oh, wait, I'm the boss. The buck is supposed to stop with me. Who controls this? And
well, it seems like from watching you online that you've got a really good handle on that now, but I know that that's had to have been a hard habit to break initially. So I'm wondering if there are any things you can remember that helped you stop that cycle of always thinking about your business, always needing to be at the desk. Like, how did you break that and start having more fun?
Great question. A couple things. I think I hit the wall that business owners hit where they're like, I'm sick of my shit. In like a loving, very, very loving sense. But like you hit that place where you're like, wait a minute. Like I'm no longer committed to this version of what my business looks like. This is not what I want. And I'm tired of telling myself that I just have to do this a little longer for it to be something else. Like that. That doesn't have to be what I want. And so I had to like remember what I actually wanted. Like that was big step one of like let me just like re-envision what this can look like. And then the biggest reminder in that is that like that is not what happens on day one. Like we don't re-envision it and it doesn't happen right away. I think that's like the biggest thing I have to learn in creating a sustainable business is that like so often, and as like a perfectionist overachiever, I want this picture perfect reality to happen right now. And instead, I have to be like, okay, like what is the first viable option? What is the first prototype of what this could look like that I can invite in right now and be okay with? So I think like envisioning it and then giving it that. I also think like gently boundaries. I had to like go back to like version one business owner Alexa was like, what are my working hours? And working hours, like, like what time will I be at my desk? And I can give myself space to think about my business, but I also have to shut the notebook and be like, okay, like what is one action item I can take away from that thought process? Because I can think forever. Like I am an overthinker extraordinaire. Like I can think on things forever, but I have to move into action in some way, shape, or form. And I used to think that like the action was the problem. We were like so hustle, like anti-hustle mode. And then you're like, wait, no, like action is a bit of the antidote to the anxiety I'm currently feeling in my business. So, figuring out like what my working hours are, what I can take action on. And then when I shut my laptop, I am a big, like, I brick my phone as much as possible. I have a note in my notes app that is my business parking lot, and I just drop ideas and things off there. And I know that I can visit them later whenever when it's time to come back to that content idea. I like know that it's parked somewhere so that I can come back to it when I need to.
I love it. I love it. Now, for someone wanting to introduce some more fun in their life, what are some ideas you have? What are some starter crafts or starter, if you're just starting to dabble and you want to experiment, do you have any suggestions?
Oh my gosh. Yes, I do. I would say, like, I'm a huge Pinterester. That is like my favorite form of social media. And so like will go find inspiration for something that I actually want to make. I picked up sewing at the start of this year and people were like, here are some beginning sewing crafts. And they were like pot holders. And I was like, I don't want a pot holder right now. I do want them now. Like they will be made in the next few, like whatever. But then I was like, I don't want to do that. So I think my biggest like tip is find something that actually excites you to make because like you're more skilled than you think you are. So like you can, take a bite out of something that you want to try and make. But in terms of starter fun activities, there are so many. Beading is a really good, easy one. I did start on needlepoint that required a little bit more materials than the average person needs to get to do things. But if it excites you, go for it. Sewing required a machine. That was a fascinating one to bite off on. You can learn hand lettering. My favorite markers to teach hand lettering with are Crayola markers, like literally like what your kids have or like what you would pick up at, like the grocery store for like $3. Oh, maybe more inflation, but like teaching yourself hand lettering is a really fun one. And like you can make all sorts of like cards and things for friends and family. I don't think it has to be complicated to be fun. Lots of my friends do watercoloring and have little watercoloring books. So I think it's just finding the thing that speaks to you and then finding like the easiest possible on-ramp for it.
One thing I look forward to every year is Christmas time when you share Christmas presents, which you hand decorate. So where did this start? Tell us the journey.
Oh my God. It's It's grown into a monster of its own. I started doing this, gosh, it probably was right around COVID. I had been teaching myself hand lettering, as one does, as a fun little hobby in my spare time. And I think I must have seen it somewhere. Like somebody did like hand lettering on a Christmas present, and I was like, oh, I can do that. My mom raised me with that gene. That's a dangerous one to have, especially with crafts. So I was like, okay. So I picked up just some like craft brown wrapping paper and like whatever, like simple, non decorated wrapping paper and started. I like took pictures of a few, like I just like did it for like friends and family and was like, this is so fun. Like they had like little themes. I think it really started because I had mostly craft brown wrapping paper and I had a niece at the time and I was like, she doesn't want a boring wrapped present. Like she needs something fun. And I think like the first ever one I did was like a Grinch hand holding an ornament. It was like absurd. But I was like, she has to have a fun wrapping paper. And now every year since I have decorated presents and I have like friends and family who keep them. And I'm like, please, you do not have to do that. I was like, that is, they're like, well, frame it. I was like, please really don't do that. But it has grown into just like a tradition now. So like every year I like know it's time to wrap presents and I have to set aside a little more time than the average human, but it's a lot of fun.
That's amazing. I love that so much. And I think that is a great place to end this episode all about how to have fun in life. So thank you for joining.
Thank you.